Okay. Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me come in to observe your lesson. You've had the opportunity to look at the data I sent to you, and I just want to start this meeting by asking you, how did the data speak to you? What did you notice from the data? Are there any conclusions you can draw? What you expected?
It is what I expected, and it makes sense that, like I saw in your notes here, that where you had talked about the students had gotten a little bit more disengaged through like that second cycle. And so that just kind of shows me, like, when the students were rotating the first time through the first 3 simple machines, we could have stopped and we did like that formal assessment where we had started at the very end, maybe mix that up a little bit more so they're not going through all 6 at one time, just something a little bit different that seems to help the students sometimes. So instead they could go through the first 3, then do like the 3 like formal kind of assessments, and then come back and do the next 3. That would kind of break it up a little bit more and help with that that engagement. This was the first time that I've done it like this.
Okay.
I hadn't divided up the 3 groups like that before, so every time you learn something anyways new. Of course, like whenever, like especially like you're trying to release that control to the students and have them investigate and really experiment, that's always hard for me as a teacher because I always want full control. So like when I'm over there at one group and what's going on over here, like it's really hard for me to be over there at that one group, because you really want to make sure that you have all the students engaged at all times, and that's so hard to do. And so you try and make sure that you look and you're trying to get that visual what all the students are doing in the other groups that you're not necessarily near. So to see like there were a few students who could have been a little bit more on task, that doesn't surprise me. Especially like little 3rd graders, if they sometimes know that there's not someone watching over their shoulder, that they'll kind of tend to get a little bit off task. That's why you try and assign those group leaders, but they're little 3rd graders, so not surprising.
Okay. So you did say that these were the results that you expected. Is there any way from this lesson from the data collection in this process thus far, that would help steer you in a path of professional development? So is there any way where you were thinking that you want to go next, whether it be with this set of data or if you wanted me to look at some additional data to come in your classroom for the next observation? I think student engagement, you're seeing. What I'll do is I'll show you some of the other forms. I think that we found some successes today with student engagement, but there's some other other data collection forms we could use. I introduced this last time, the cognitive levels of questioning and wait time. This one actually looks at the Bloom's level of taxonomy and questioning students to make sure that you're actually matching the level of question with the as well. Actually, you're at the correct cognitive level. And just kind of look at how long you give students wait time when asking those questions. That's one option. The other option that you might consider is the student-teacher verbal interactions. A lot of times teachers are unaware of the number of times they interact with certain students, so I can come in over a period of time and look at the frequency at which you interact with various students throughout the classroom, just to give you some other information to reflect on. Or we could go back and use the student engagement data collection form on another lesson or maybe another subject. What do you think?
The one that I would probably want to do next is probably continue to, like, I feel like if you pick one and try and just work on that, so I would probably be interested in more doing that student engagement data one more time, doing it again. Just to see if I can like make the changes to make sure all the students are engaged at all time, and then like work to the other one. So if I had to pick one like right now, and to come back next time, I would do probably the student engagement data to see if I could make the changes.
Okay.
So hopefully the students would change.
So awesome. So it seems like you want to stick with the professional development in the area of student engagement. So what I can do, I'll come back to do my next observation. I'll use the same data collection form. I'll do my post observation, and I will put my summary in your box. Sound good? Could I ask you, just before we end this session, this first cycle, could you reflect on this experience? Kind of reflecting on my role and your role as the teacher?
I found it to be very, it's informative, and it's always, it's something that you think and you know should be happening. Like, whenever you talk about student engagement, you know that all the students should be engaged at all times, but sometimes, there's so much going on with teachers that you tend to lose focus on, even little things like this at sometimes. So it really helps, like, to know that someone else was watching it. Like I was mentioning to you earlier, it's good because, like, as I was going through the lesson, like, I was really, like, looking at all the different students to see what they were doing, because I knew that's what we were particularly looking at. So I felt like it was a good experience. It was very informative. Doing it again would be awesome. So I did. I thought it was an awesome experience.
Did you like the data collection forms?
I did. I feel like it's easy to understand. I felt like, it shows you, where you want to grow and what you did well and what you didn't. So I felt like it wasn't something that's, necessarily too complicated, something you can quickly look at and be able to figure out. So
Okay.
it's rather simple.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.